Check, check 1, 2. Okay.
Mic test, mic test. Oh.
Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We need more? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right.
Mic test, mic test. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mic test. Mic test, mic test. 1, 2, 3. Mic test. Mic test, mic test. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good? Is it good? Mic test. Mic test. Good? Did you focus? Can you magnify to the magnifying focus? Oh. Mic. Oh, I think she's feeling. Good?
Oh, no. Adrian, I see what you mean.
But we don't want that one on.
Do you hear me, Camille?
test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Test, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. We're good.
Good afternoon.
I understand the question's been asked, who owns the New York City Transit Authority? New York City Transit Authority is owned by the City of New York. It is leased to the MTA. It's been fully disclosed in all of the city's official statements, in their bond prospectuses, as well as in their comprehensive annual financial report. I've known this for quite a long time, ever since I was an investment banker for the MTA, fully knowing that the MTA owns Metro North, owns the Long Island Railroad, however, is affiliated with the New York City Transit Authority because its assets are owned by the City of New York. Now, why is that relevant? What's relevant about that is that in this understanding as to what's going on vis-a-vis funding, let me give you a little bit of history. Best I know it, 1953, New York City created the New York City Transit Authority. They did it with the sole purpose of separating the decision-making about tolls away from elected officials, so it would go to some board. And it also, but it gave the mayor the right to agree to for the city to pay $5 million or more. He had the ability to agree or disagree with its budget back in 1953. 1967, the MTA was created. When the MTA was created, it was a lease between the City of New York and the MTA for the purposes of operating the transit system, the subway system, and some of the city buses at the time. In 1981, however, 1981 became the beginning of the Capital Program Review Board. Capital Program Review Board, if you don't know, has to approve our capital plan, and the mayor has the right to vote on the Capital Program Review Plan for the New York City Transit Authority. It's a right that he has really to say it's the right to veto it or to accept it. It's a very simple approach. But what happened in 1981? What happened in 1981 was that the city, because of its fiscal crisis, was no longer funding the capital needs of any part of the city of New York, most notably the transit system. For those of you who are around in the late 70s and early 80s, you will remember the subways were in terrible repair, terrible situation, graffitied, breaking down constantly, tens and tens of thousands of breakdowns every year. Then chairman at the time, Dick Ravitch, decided that the most important thing to do was for the MTA to play a role in issuing debt and to be able to fund the capital plan, because he was correct in thinking that the city of New York needed to do this. He had the full support of Governor Hugh Carey. Governor Carey went to the state legislature, and the state legislature passed a law in 1981 allowing for the Capital Program Review Board. Could someone pass out the law to them? Because I want to be able to show what's written in there, because it's very, very important to understand. With every law, there's such a thing called legislative findings and declarations, or as you may know, is the bill jacket. What's important in that bill jacket is it gives the explanation as to why the legislature is passing the law. And so you don't have to read these 3 pages, which are quite thick. Let me read you and highlight for you some things that I think are very important and actually very telling. So look at section 1. It's the legislative findings. About halfway down, it says, unless such funds are obtained and capital rehabilitation and improvement programs promptly implemented, the transit and transportation system servicing this district will deteriorate, and a clear and present danger would result to the health, welfare, safety, and welfare of its inhabitants. The state legislature was so concerned about the deterioration of the New York City transit system because the city wasn't funding its capital program. At that point in time, they said, we need to give the MTA the ability to go out and issue debt so that they can fund the capital program. What's the most critical in what I just handed out is on the bottom of page 391, section 7. Section 7 says, although the existing laws pursuant to the lease with the City Transit Authority, the City of New York is required to provide for the capital needs of the City Transit Authority, the City of New York's fiscal needs have been and are of such magnitude that it has not done so for a considerable period of time. This legislation, without relieving the city of its contractual or statutory obligation, permits the Transit Authority by agreement with the MTA and the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority to meet those urgent needs. That is the law. That is the intent of the law. That is what exists today. The idea that the City of New York has no role in the financing of the New York City Transit Authority, just, the law doesn't support that at all. The idea, so it goes back to ownership and what goes on. Under no circumstances do I know and do I expect the state of New York to shirk its responsibility. This is about having the city constantly be saying that, they have no role in the New York City Transit Authority. They have every role in the New York City Transit Authority. They own it. They lease it to the MTA to operate it. It's their responsibility to fund it. When they were in a fiscal crisis, the City of New York's fiscal crisis, the MTA, the state of New York, came to protect the assets of the New York City Transit Authority. Because as we all know, and as I've said and many people have said, the New York City subway system is the circulatory system that allows our economy to grow, allows our entire region to grow. And so it was very, very important. The fiscal crisis is over. It's been over for quite a long period of time. City of New York last year had a $3 billion surplus. It now has a $4 billion surplus. It just had a 5% income tax renewed. The times have changed. And just like with any reorganization, when an organization is on the verge of bankruptcy, at some point you get back to the normal relationships. Under no circumstances am I saying that New York City needs to fund all of the New York City Transit Authority. But they own it. They're required to pay. Would love to have them to be a partner. Questions? It's an affiliate of the MTA, and under its existing, the contract and the law, we operate it. We're the ones who determine what the fees are going to be, or the tolls, the fares are going to be. But when it comes to capital, it's the city's responsibility, and as the state legislature said, regardless of the fact that the state is now putting forward the money, it is still their requirement. It is still their obligation. That's Section 7 of what I handed out of the law. I've always had a problem with that. I don't understand why people believe that. I think the ownership is owned by the City of New York. They've given it to the MTA to operate. It is the MTA's requirement to do it as efficiently and as effectively as possible. The operations of it are funded through fares as well as various different taxes passed by the state legislature. The capital program was picked up by the state because the city couldn't do it. For anybody, and by the way, the mayor of New York has the right to veto the plan. The right to veto is an extraordinary controlling power. It's not that you get to vote and it's a majority rule. The rules of the Capital Program Review Board are Security Council rules. Anybody who's a member of the Capital Program Review Board can say no, and if that happens, the entire thing falls down. Think about it. The right to veto is absolutely the right of control. Now, I'm not talking about ceding control. This debate about who controls and who doesn't control. The people of the City of New York deserve its elected officials at every level to work on their behalf. They fund the subway as best it possibly can. That's what I think the issue is. That's where I'm standing now at the MTA. That is what we're talking about. I don't want to get into politics. This is not at all to discuss that. It's not about personalities. It's about who owns and who needs to provide the funding. For anyone to say, not my problem, it's the state's problem, they don't know the law, they don't know the history, and they don't understand the relationship. No, I don't think the writers care. What the writers care about is that they can get from home to work or home to school in an efficient and an effective way. I'm in the process of putting together a report. That report is going to say we're going to need additional resources, and the report will come out when it comes out, which I expect it to be next week, later in the week. There's going to be the need for additional resources. With that, I fully expect that the owner and the operator of the New York City Transit Authority will come to the table with money. To protect the health, welfare of the city of New York, because, right. No, I didn't, look, I don't want it to be political and I don't want it to be litigious. That paragraph is quoting their opening premise, and their opening premise in section 1 is that unless such funds are obtained in capital rehabilitation, there's a clear and present danger to the health, safety, and welfare of its inhabitants. Therefore, we're going to step to the table because the city was in a fiscal crisis, severe fiscal crisis, and couldn't do it. So the state just said, we're going to jump in, and we're going to do it. It's not needed anymore. Yes, sir. So I've been spending all my time on the subway. I don't know at all on the lights. I'm sorry. I do know that we're not paying for them. We're not paying for them. What does that mean? Paying for them. The MTA is not paying for the lights. I don't know. They're going to be provided and put up on the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority assets, but we are not paying for it. It's not in our budget. Don't expect it to be in the budget. Channel 11.
Not on. I'll just use this one then.
Mr. Mocker doesn't need a.
I don't mean my question to sound rude, but I maybe think it has to. I have some frustration. You have it too. Isn't this a conversation that maybe the governor and the mayor should be having? Do we really need this history lesson right now?
It should be dealt with by the elected officials. I've been led to believe that they have conversations. They just disagree. I'm here because the reporters kept asking to the press office here at the MTA, what does this mean that the city owns the New York City Transit Authority? The city has always owned the New York City Transit Authority. I'm not here to give a history lesson. I'm an accountant. I'm not a historian. I'm here to basically answer the question which has been raised, plain and simple. I did not expect to have this today. Oh, when I come next week when I present the plan, inside of that plan will be the need for additional resources. It's my hope that the commitment to come forward that the city understands its responsibilities as the owner of the New York City Transit Authority to participate in the funding. Yeah, but it's not just capital; it's also operating. It's both. I mean, it's just not. And you can see. I mean, look, the state still does 3.5 times the amount that the city does in the capital program. I don't want to talk about the past and the history. I need to talk about the future, because what I need to do is get the subways back into a condition so that their on-time performance and the signals and everything else that seems to be things that are slowing it down need to get back, and we're going to need resources to do that.
Chairman, 2 questions.
I hadn't thought about it that way. I was really here to answer the question. You can look at it that way, yeah.
Two questions for you, sir. The first is about this, and the second is maybe more big picture. As you said, every mayor since 1981 has shirked this responsibility. It's
No,
often-
I don't think I've ever said that.
Well,
That's just not true.
You just went through a history lesson about how the city has been.
Right. Not every mayor has shirked this responsibility since 1981. I mean, that's erroneous to make that assumption.
This has been a problem for.
When someone says it's not my problem, it's the state problem, it's a failure to understand the role, responsibility, and what it means to be an owner.
But this is a push and pull that's been going on forever between the MTA and the city government in terms of who pays for what, and the strap hangers are always in the middle. This is something that's come up in every administration. So I guess I'm curious, if you were in City Hall right now, how would things be different?
I don't deal in speculation. That was over 3.5 years ago. Not
Well,
going there.
But
Not going there. That's not why I'm here. Not here. This is not, I said it before, this is not about politics. You want to bring politics into it. You're asking me if I was something I'm not. Not going to go there. It's just not a fair question. If it makes the city come to the table with additional money, yes, absolutely helpful.
I've got a question because you continually are asserting that this is not a political question.
It's not.
And of course it is a political question.
You're smarter than that, Henry.
It's a political question. The governor had a big New Year's Day party. Where did he have it? At the 2nd Avenue subway. The governor shut down the subways ahead of a blizzard. Did he tell the mayor that he was going to do that? He did not. The governor has been running the subways.
That is exactly what the lease says.
The practical effect of what you're saying, is it that the mayor is now your boss?
No, not at all. What I'm saying is that the New York City Transit Authority is owned by the City of New York, and an operating lease given to the MTA to operate it. The question you just asked was, do we operate it? And the answer is yes.
You operate it, and you have to make all these decisions about how to fund it and how to fund the
No. What we do is determine how much we need, and we go to Albany and we go to City Hall and we ask for the money, whatever we're not getting in from the fare box and from taxes that have been dedicated. What's left over has always been something that is split between the two. This is about purely money, plain and simple.
In the aftermath of a poll that showed that the governor was losing support, in part because of the problems in the subways and in the MTA in general, we're now sitting here at a news conference in which you are trying to create a debate about who owns and who should operate and who's responsible for the MTA. And
Henry, we've known each other for a long time. This is not to present a debate. This is based on facts and a recitation of facts.
the purpose of this legislation,
There's a lot of urban legend out there, which you are purporting to say is truthful, and it's not.
was the purpose of this legislation to hand the ball off to the state.
Oh, absolutely not. The
operate,
legislature was very clear.
Fund the transit system.
No.
That was
It's right in that legislation where, in fact, it says this does not relieve the city of its responsibilities. It was put in place because the city was, we all say it was on the verge of bankruptcy. It was in a restructuring. It was in what we call in the municipal world a financial control period. It didn't have the money to be able to put it up. The city said, okay, we'll do it. And the state legislature said, this does not relieve the city of its responsibility to fund the capital plan. The state continued to fund it. For anyone to say they don't have a role, they're kidding themselves. They have a role by the legislature. They have a role by vetoing. Excuse me? you know, the idea that they have $4 billion surplus, what I'm talking about is minuscule in my needs compared to that. So, no, that argument doesn't hold water.
How much money do you expect the city of New York to?
Next week, when I present the plan of what the additional needs are, you'll be able to ask that. I am not in a position right now to discuss it because it's not been fully calculated. Yes, sir.
Chairman, so I guess from your logic, I have two questions. One related to this specifically, the other one another monetary question. So do you then expect that by pointing out that the city technically owns the transit authority, that
No, not technically. There's no.
okay, so
Logic.
they own it. So do you expect them, even though the state operates it, do you expect them to say, you know what, you're right, I'm going to give you more money now? I mean, I don't understand the logic in pointing
Here's
this
the
out.
logic. It's not because the law is the law. What is important about this is that the leadership of the city and the leadership of the state have to come together on behalf of all of us, all the people who take the subway, all the people who they represent, all of their constituents. That is the role of what elected officials have to do. Now, Henry, I'm getting political. So that the point of this is, it's not about a recitation of the law. It's about where I sit here in this role, and in a sense, trying to do everything I can to help the people who take the subway. That's what we need. And at this point in time, due to the deterioration, we're going to need additional funding, and it would be good for the elected officials to come to the table on behalf of their constituents. Plain and simple.
And one more question on the Summer of Hell. Do you still plan on withholding funding to pay for the Summer of Hell? And what do you make of the notion that Penn Station's problems are due to the underinvestment by Amtrak's funding partners, including the MTA and New Jersey Transit?
So I'm sorry, I got stuck on the first question, and I really didn't hear the second one.
Sure. So what do you make of the argument that part of Amtrak's funding problems come from underinvestment from partners like the MTA and the New Jersey Transit?
We've honored every agreement that we've had with Amtrak. We have funded everything in accordance with the law. The idea that we have underfunded, we have given exactly what we are required to give. We don't own Penn Station. We don't. The owner is ultimately responsible. And they have an agreement with its tenants, New Jersey Transit, Long Island Railroad. And as part of that, we make those payments, and we do that. I mean, so the idea that we have not funded it, who's making statements like that? I'll get back to you on that. I know the issue. It happened before I came here. My focus on the subways has not made me focus. My focus every day, especially early in the morning, is making sure that the Long Island Railroad is operating fine. But I haven't looked into that issue, which was a couple 6, 7 weeks ago. Thank you all. Have a good evening.